Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Upward Bound. Today, we have another video in our YouTube fall series, and we're going to talk about college majors. Why, Joe?
They're a pretty major deal.
So here's some of the stuff we're going to cover today. First of all, what is a major? We're going to talk about majors, departments, degrees, careers, and kind of like really frame it up for you. But let's start with the basics. What is a major? Joe, do you want to talk about major and then I could talk about degrees?
That'd be great. Yeah. So what is a major? You guys probably have heard in passing, just like college major, what are you going to major in? And you probably have a general idea, but never learn the actual definition. Well, in college, you declare something called a major, which is a specific subject area that you specialize in during college while you work towards your degree. In high school and grade school, you're doing a lot of general education classes, but in college, you are specializing in a certain subject area. 35 to 50% of the courses that you take will be major related. So if you major in business, most of your classes that you take for your degree will be business classes. And the remaining courses will be general education classes that all students have to complete for their degree, pretty much in any institution that you go to. So you will commonly hear people say, I'm a science major, or I'm majoring in journalism.
Great. So then what's the difference between a major and a degree? Well, the degree is the thing you get, right? So it's the actual piece of paper. It's the certificate status you earn upon completing all of the required courses for your major in general education. So once you've completed all the courses, you get your degree. So there are different types of degrees depending on the number of courses you complete. I think you guys know there's associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. So depending on the amount of years you complete. So for instance, that student who is majoring in journalism will then say they have a bachelor's of arts in communications with a major in journalism. So that's the important difference. And the other thing we hope that's important, and we want to just emphasize, is that college majors aren't always directly tied to careers. So if what you know right now is you want a certain career, you might not necessarily know what that major is. So you have to do some research to figure out the educational path to get to the career. So there are some majors that are strongly related to certain careers. There are some majors that are more broad. So one of the things as you are thinking about what you are going to major in, you might want to start by thinking about what type of career you would have and do research backwards and figure out how do I get the education to get that career.
Yeah. Frequently, students will be like, well, I want to be a doctor, so I'm going to major in doctor. But there are no doctor majors, as you will learn throughout the presentation.
Oh, so this is what we were just talking about. Joe, do you want to kind of?
Yeah, so let's break it down. So degrees and majors right now, let's talk about degrees and the different types. So again, you might have seen these words, might have been familiar with the types of degrees, but here are literally the explanations. So when you're in college and you take a course, there are things called college credits. And at the end of your college career, you are supposed to have earned a certain amount of credits, sort of like high school. When you take a math class, you're going to earn 1 credit towards your total credits. And then when you graduate from high school, you're supposed to graduate, I believe, with about 23.5 credits. The same thing for college, just a lot more credits because it's a different system. So each course, instead of 1 credit, is about 3 credits. Some classes can be 1 credit, 2 credit, 3 or 4 credits, depending on, but on average, most classes are about 3 credits. And in order to graduate, like I said, you have to earn a certain amount of credits, just like high school. So your first sort of level of degree after a high school degree is the associate's degree, which is sort of the shortest technically, and takes the least amount of education. It takes about 2 years. And each semester you're taking about 15 credits, which is about 4 to 5 classes per semester. And so you're going to be taking that amount of classes for 4 semesters, which is about 2 years, which in total is about 20 classes. And taking those 20 classes over 2 years and completing them in the major sort of subject area that you're getting it in will land you an associate's degree. So sometimes if you're reading stuff, you'll see like AA in science or AS in nursing. Those are associate's degrees. So 60 credits total for that degree, and the breakdown is on the right side. It's very similar to a bachelor's degree. So a bachelor's degree is just 2 additional years. So an associate's degree, you're studying and you're getting specialized in an area, but when you are doing that through a bachelor's degree, you become even more of an expert. So that is just twice the amount of credits, twice the amount of classes, and twice the amount of time. So 2 years for associates, 4 years for bachelors. You'll see the common types are a bachelor's of arts, which is the BA, bachelor's of science, which is the BS, and then there are a couple other special ones like BFA, which is fine arts for people who major in art or theater or things like that. And the last big one that you might see is when you graduate with a bachelor's degree, you are able to go on to your master's degree. You need a bachelor's degree in order to go for a master's degree. And that is actually way shorter than bachelor's degree, less credits. It's even more specialized. And it typically takes 1 to 2 years, depending on if you work part-time or other circumstances. And that's about 10 to 20 classes and 30 to 60 credits. So you might have heard of MBAs, like a Master's of Business. Very fancy business people might have that degree. That's probably something you've heard of, or maybe you've seen the Temple advertisements, get your MBA at Temple on a billboard in Philly. So a master's degree is just even higher, but nowadays bachelor's degrees are great and good enough to get a good quality, high paying job. And if you want even higher pay or even more experience and things like that, you might want to go back for your master's degree for something specific.
The biggest difference is just the expertise, right? So the more time you're in school, the more courses you get to take related to your major. And so the more you're going to know and understand about that field, which should translate to more options for work. Mm-hmm. So here are some other types of degrees you have probably heard of. This is beyond your bachelor's degree, right? So maybe the master's degree is a degree that some people go for, but other people want a certain different types of degrees. And these are called professional degrees. So they occur when you have already earned a bachelor's degree for sure. And then sometimes you kind of want to take it, sometimes you get a master's degree after that, but sometimes you go to these specific professional degrees if you want specific careers. So the first one is a doctor of degree. So this is focusing on applying research to a practical problem while developing solutions to complex issues and designing effective practices within a specific field of work. So here are some examples of this. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a doctor of education, if you want to be, that might be something you get if you want to be a principal, right? So these are the degrees you get after you have earned your bachelor's degree and you want to go on to, and you've earned your master's degree and you want to go on to be a doctor of. These are typically gotten by people who want to move up in their career, who want to kind of get the next level in a field they're already masters of, right? So you might notice like a lot of people say they want to be lawyers, right? So there's a specific degree for that, and it's called a JD, a Juris Doctorate. A business doctorate would be a doctor of business. Same for for education. It is different than the other type of doctor that you probably have most experience with, which is a doctor of medicine. So for those of you who are interested in becoming doctors, it is a very specific track that you will be on. And it's a very specific type of life that you will be living, right? So having a doctor of medicine is much different than having a doctor of education. After you have earned your bachelor's degree, you will move on to getting this specific type of professional degree. So you'll get your bachelor's degree and then you'll apply for medical school, which is different than your master's degree. It is specifically for doctors, 4 years of that. And then after that, you have 3 to 7 years working as a resident in a hospital to learn a specialty. So basically that's 8 years of school, right? Plus an additional 3 to 7 years of working / learning at the same time in a hospital. And that's where you sort of decide what kind of doctor you're going to be. A pediatrician, you're going to be, here we have oncology, trauma, surgery, whatever it is that you might find interesting through your different rounds that you're kind of learning about everything. And then you pick your specialty. So being a doctor is something that's very specific track. And therefore, when you're applying, if right now as a high school student, if you say, I want to be a doctor, we have to think about the majors that will get you into medical school, because medical school is where you actually become a doctor. And you can't do that until you have a bachelor's degree. So I think we talk about that a little later?
I think we do.
Okay. And then sort of a very high level doctorate is called a PhD. And this is for people who want to become the world's expert on a certain type of subject. This is usually somebody who's very into doing like their own research. They want to like solve a huge major problem. They want to be a university professor or speaker and be experts on a topic. And they are very specified. And it takes, you can see, a lot of credits. It takes 120 credit hours total, in addition to having a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. In order to get your PhD, you also have to spend another 120 credit hours, which can take people years and years and years. So it's a long endeavor.
It's a commitment.
It's a commitment. It's for the people who are really passionate about a specific subject.
Yeah. So students who want to be things like lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, veterinarians, absolutely, dentists, those students will be working towards getting a professional degree in those areas, because that's what you need in order to do those jobs.
Yeah.
Degree categories. So we talked about all the types of degrees, but within those degrees, there are sort of specific areas that depend on your subject. So we talked about some examples of bachelor's degrees, and you will most often see degrees that are of arts or of science or of applied science or fine arts, but you will see very frequently degrees of arts and degrees of science. So looking at a 4-year institution that gives bachelor's degrees, the degrees are broken down into those two components. There's arts and sciences and maybe some others. But under the arts and under the sciences are specific schools or colleges. So you might see, for example, at a big university like Temple, they have the College of Science and Technology. And under that college in the university are majors like biology and chemistry and engineering and math and physics and things like that. And so that is because universities are so huge, it has to be kind of broken down into manageable parts that are led by experts in the area. So all departments have department heads, people running the entire programs, and who are responsible for your education under those colleges. It is hard for one supreme president of a university to run all these individual programs. So they're broken down into pieces, broken down into small majors. Let's see. So for example, if you are a chemistry major, you will probably be listed under the College of Science and Technology, like I said. However, keep in mind that schools are all different in the way that they name things sometimes. So some schools might be like the College of the sciences, like just the sciences, or things like that. I think that's it for this
Yeah, I
question.
just want to say one way this is helpful to you as a student as you're deciding your majors is you don't know exactly what kind of major you're interested in, but
Mhm.
you can say like I've always been interested in science careers. And so you are like, I'm going to start in at the Bachelor of Science degrees and I'm going to look at everything they offer.
Mhm.
And then you might be like, I never even thought of that major. I didn't think of this department. And so it's good for you to understand that they organize the majors in a certain way to make you and the schools to make you sort of be around other students who are sort of interested in the same things as you. And that can open up ideas that you just didn't have before. Maybe you've thought of biology, but you never thought of organic biology, or you never thought of, very specific things that are offered. So it can help you sort of narrow down your own search to understand how they're organizing things.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I think the next slide, this is just an example. Just to understand for your own purposes, like I was just saying that, like, if you're looking at sort of like the chain of things, you're going to see the Bachelors of Science, and then you're going to see the colleges of the College of the Sciences, and then all of the different things they might offer, the different departments that they have in the colleges of the science. So, and even how it's broken down even more among majors. So I think that's the biggest thing that students who are coming from high school, where the science options were chemistry, physical science, biology, and maybe physics. You had like 4 choices and that's it. Once you get to college, it really opens up so much. And there's just so many specific things you can really study. So looking at these and just like looking at all the options is really good as you're planning and trying to figure out what's available to you. And as a first generation student, that requires research for you. That just requires you taking the time to like look and really figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. And think about your interests. That will lead you into thinking, how do I even choose a major? Which is what we're going to discuss next. So, how do I choose a major? Like, what am I good at? What could I see myself doing after high school for a long period of time? We know it's a big ask to ask students between the age of 14 and 18 to say, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? It's a long life. But what might you want to do that might stick? And plans always change in the future. But sort of what do you want to do when you're getting right out of high school?
So this is like our big disclaimer about this. This is one of the first big decisions you make all by yourself. It shouldn't be something that you make because your parents want you to make that decision, because I want you to make that decision, or your teachers want you to make that decision. It's something you're training, you decide to study for a long time so you can get a job. So it's understandable to be really nervous or stressful about it, but we don't want you to just not think about it because of that, because of the stress, because it'll make it a lot less stressful if you start to do research and you start to actually figure it out and you face it. So we just really want you to, more than anything from this presentation, start to be excited about the potential and not look at it as something that's stressing you out, but as like, I get to do this. I get to make a choice about myself. And that's just going to require you to look inward. And I can't tell you what to major in. I can give you advice based on what you tell me about yourself. But if you don't do that hard work yourself to like get to know yourself, there's not that much that people can do to help you. So it's a getting inside your own head and figuring yourself out process.
Yep, it's a process. It's a
It's a
whole big
process.
process, and that's why we're here to help you with it. So for students who kind of there are a couple types of students. Some students are like, I wanted to be a doctor my entire life, and that's what I still plan to do. And I get straight A's in chemistry and biology, and here we go. There are some students who are like, I kind of know like some things. I kind of want to look into it. And then there are some students who are like, I do not know. I don't ask me. I have no idea. So where do you even start? Where do you start thinking about these things? So we have a couple of key sort of suggestions for all students. The first thing that you want to do is define your interests and think about things like, what classes are you good at? What classes do you enjoy and you've succeeded in, and that you found interesting in the first place? Um, Other than that, what do you like to do just in general in life? Like all the experiences you had in activities at school or just different type of social activities, religious, volunteering, sport activities. Are you a part of any organizations? So what do you like to do? Did you do something for the Philadelphia Young Playwrights and really liked that? Then you might want to go into writing, or writing screenplays for movies, or writing stage plays, or just writing in general. And with that idea, you can use that and look into other majors and see what kind of careers are out there with that skill. Then you might want to evaluate those interests. So, like, what is it that you liked about it? If you like to build Lego sets just for fun, what did you like about the activities? With Lego sets, it's a lot of kind of hands-on, mechanical, like literal, sort of scientific thinking around it. So you might want to be an engineer, or maybe you want to be a mechanic or an electrician because you like to work with your hands in that way. So think about the activities that you do, the challenges that they offer, and like the skills it takes to do those activities. So like, what skills do you know how to do well? Are you a good listener? Are you, do people tell you you are good at writing? Do people tell you, hey, you're really great at mental math and just figuring things out? Do you try to solve other people's problems? Are you a good sounding board for your friends? Um, are you the natural leader in your group that always kind of like gets your friends to do stuff? So you just want to think about your general skills and interests in like every area of life, because it can apply to your major, and it can apply to a career that you might do in the future.
So it's what you're interested in plus what you're good at, right?
Mhm.
Those are the two things. So here's kind of back to our other point, is that it's really some inner work that you're going to have to do. And the main thing that you can start doing now as a high school student is researching things, researching careers that seem interesting to you, right? So there's a lot of information out there about careers. And so once you kind of determine the relationship between the careers that you're interested in and the skills that you have, you can start to do a little bit of that backwards research, right? Okay, what major would I need to have to get this job, right? So doing that is really, really a good way to just start. Like I know this person that does this job. How did they get to that? What degree did they have so that they can do that? And what would I need to start doing right now as a high school student to get myself ready to do that major? So online resources are really helpful, and we're going to actually we'll list some and send you an email that has some online resources. And then finally, talking to people is really sort of the best way to get it out there and to just get opinions and thoughts about what is going on. So who can you talk to? You can talk to advisors, mentors, teachers, your Upward Bound directors, your Upward Bound TCs, just people you get to meet. Like if you have a doctor, if you have a nurse practitioner at your school, if you have somebody who's there who does something that seems interesting to you, ask them how they did it. And we want you to look outside of just your friends and family, right? Because we all only know what we know. And sometimes that isn't all there is. There's a lot out there. So our advice for parents who might be watching this is ultimately it's time for them to step back and give advice, sure. But remember that this decision is really about the student and about the student's life.
Very true. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, I was gonna add my own personal story, but I feel like that's gonna take 10 minutes and we don't got that time. So, all right. So other than thinking about what you're good at and doing research, and if you find your major, say you finally figure out, I want this career, so I'm gonna do this major, super cool, love it. You're gonna have to see what colleges, well, you're going to have to see if you're a good fit for the major in first place. So the reason why we bring this up is that some students are very creative and very artistic and might want to go into, for example, music or theater or dance, or some sort of drawing program. Well, for some majors, there are specific requirements. If you want to, if you draw and you like art and you feel like you want to go to art school, that's great. All art schools, all art programs are going to ask for a portfolio of work that you do in high school. So they're not just going to kind of let you in. Places like the Community College of Philadelphia will, because it's a basic education and sort of like an introduction into art, and will allow you to practice the skills. And then maybe by the time you finish there, you will have a portfolio to take to a four-year school. We've had students do that. But you will need a portfolio of artwork if you plan on majoring in art. You will have to do a literal music audition if you want to major in voice and music. If you want to major in dance in college, you're gonna have to do an actual dance performance for admissions counselors in that department. If you're going into science programs, a lot of them will say, hey, we really need you to have a certain grade in these certain science classes. So think about, do you meet the qualifications? And are you just saying that you want to be an actor just because you think it's cool? Or like, do you have the chops and can you audition for it?
And the reason, even though that seems like, why are they making it harder? It's really for your benefit, because if you're not good at it, it will cost you a lot of money to then not be able to be competitive in the career, right? So it's something we have to be honest with ourselves about. Engineering is something that students really need that a lot of students express interest in. You have to understand that a lot of people are interested in engineering jobs because they make a lot of money. If you get that degree, and the reason they make a lot of money is because those degrees are hard to get, right? Like, it's challenging work. So you have got to be very good at math and very interested in math, not just sort of like, I'm kind of good at that, but like, you want to get better at that, right? Like, it is challenging work. So you absolutely can do it. You just have to have a commitment to math and an interest in it, like a real commitment to getting better at it and working hard.
Yeah, because you'll be doing it a lot.
A lot.
The other side of this is you also want to make sure wherever you apply that they have your major in the first place. So not every school has every single major, so you have to be careful. We just went through this with one of our seniors where they wanted to apply to a school, and I was like, they don't have business classes, so you don't want to apply here. So not every university has a major, and on top of that, some universities are really good at certain programs. So some schools like Millersville University over in Lancaster, they are known for having like a really good teaching education program and agricultural program. Drexel is known for like good engineering programs. Temple is good for like science programs because they have the health medical school as well that you can go into. So certain universities are known for certain majors. But it doesn't mean that all other majors at the universities are terrible. It's just they're well known for certain ones.
And just to let you know, undeclared is an option. So if by the time you become a freshman in college and you still haven't decided what you're interested in, many colleges will allow you to come into their university undeclared. There are some reasons you might want to do that if you really have no experiences, but hopefully being in Upward Bound and us telling you what you should be thinking about, you will have some experiences that can help you pick a major. Some of the reasons why it's worth doing that right now and putting the effort into thinking about it and at least having ideas about it is, in the long run, it could save you time and money. Colleges change course requirements. So over time, you might lose credits if you're just taking classes on no certain path, right? Like, you're just like, I like this and I like that and I like that. if you go in and you are a declared major, you're going to get a list of all of the courses they expect you to take. And you have a certain amount of time to take them. And they give you a path, like first semester, take this class, second semester, take these classes. And then you'll get out of school in a certain amount of time because you followed the path. Undeclared students do typically can take longer to graduate. And also when you're undeclared, a lot of times what they're telling you to do is, well, just take your general ed requirements. And you're not really learning what you're interested in at that point because you're just taking English and math and you're not getting into any specific major. And school can be like not as cool because you don't have that thing you're passionate about to focus on. And it's just like, oh, this feels like a little bit like I'm just here and I don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. And I'm not getting the results or I'm not taking the classes I thought I was going to take. And so you have to, like, getting on a major will help you get through that phase quicker. And it's just important to have a degree plan, right? You're not going into college just to like bop around. You're going in because you want a degree. You want to change your life circumstances. You want to get a better job you want to get a job that's like fun and interesting to you and that can help your family to be stable and all of those things that are important to all of us. And that happens more quickly and efficiently with a plan. And so that's it.
Very true. Yeah, I think maybe one thing that we sort of have stated, but maybe you should clearly state is like when you get to college, the degrees are specific. So you're taking a specific track. You don't go to college and just take a bunch of different classes. And if they all add up to 120 credits, you get a degree. When in order to graduate from college, you need to graduate with a degree, and the degree has a specific path, that major path, which is why you declare a major. So it all has to add up to something, which is the degree. You can't just take random classes and hope for the best.
Because you could theoretically have 120 credits, but have them in all different areas and not have a degree.
Yep.
So we did a survey of students, and here were some of the popular majors that a lot of students, majors / careers, like the areas that students mentioned that they were interested in. These were the top 5 that we saw from our students: business, medical science, law, computer science, and psychology. And Mr. Joe, is this where we're going to send them some follow-up content on each one of these?
Yes.
What does the follow-up content have?
So the follow-up content that will be in these attached to the email that we send all of you is just a general summary of these areas. There's a section for that. There's a section where I list common majors that people do for those kind of career areas. So if you wanted to go into law, you can't major in being a lawyer. You take majors that are sort of similar to law. So you might major in political science, you might major in government and politics, you might major in social work, things like that. So there's a section that lists majors that people take to get to there. There's a section of classes from actual universities that I list that are actual classes you would take within that sort of those major areas that are really interesting classes. So you can read those and see how they sound. And then at the end, I list a bunch of careers that might result from the career area or major area that you're interested in. So there's a lot of good information there. There's a lot of explanations for those specialty degrees, like becoming a medical doctor or becoming a lawyer. Yeah, things like that. So it's an interesting read. If you're interested in any of these areas, I would recommend taking a look at that.
And one of the things we can be doing in our one-on-ones with you is just making sure that you understand the educational path to get to the career interests that you've been telling us about, the majors you've sort of mentioned to us, what jobs they might yield. It is a very individual thing, so we don't want to sit here and talk through every possible major, but we are open to talking about your specific interests and how we can help you get to the next step. So these will be included in the email as well. There's a great website, the Princeton Review, where you can look at college majors and see what kind of classes you would have to take, what kind of next steps after you get the degree, like should you go on and get a graduate degree or a professional degree? Should you start working right away? And you can see like a day in the life of somebody with this specific career, or and give you some information about salary and things like that. So there's a lot of great information out there, and it's going to be dependent on you being interested and you being like motivated to do it and ask questions. We want to help you and be a resource for you, but you got to bring a little bit of your own starting point for us, and we can help expand it.
Yep, absolutely.
Is that the last one?
This is the last slide.
Awesome.
That's it.
So I hope that you guys found this helpful and interesting. If you get to the end, you should, in the comments, leave us a little graduation cap emoji.
Yes, please. That way we know you watched the video, and that you know that there will be a Google form that goes along with it that we will send for you to complete in order to get your stipend for, I believe, the month of November.
Correct. Yep, your November stipend.
November stipend. And so watch the video, complete the form. Well, you watched the video, we're here, and you should be good to go.
Yeah. Have a great week, day, time, whenever you're watching this.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let us know if you have any questions.